Hello and welcome to Extra Innings, everybody. I'm Van Noland alongside Owen Noland. We have not been with you for quite a extended amount of time here.
It's been too long.
Yes, way too long. Got really busy with school and such.
But now that's over.
Yes, school is over and done with, in the rear view mirror now. Now it is completely on to baseball season. We have a lot of news to get to. We have a lot of prospect roundups. Well, a lot of prospects to round up, I guess you could say. We have a whole new herd of maybe potential prospects on the prospect roundup were drafted yesterday and into today, as well as the normal Major League news, and we'll give you a standings update because it has been so long, and just go over a brief overview of all of that. We are going to start like we always do with the prospect roundup. Owen, you have an interesting roundup for us today.
Yes, since it's been, I think, 3 weeks since we last did a podcast, I'll do the prospect roundup as the players of the month of May around the minor leagues, starting with the highest level of minor league baseball before you reach the major leagues, AAA, and the International League, where the Toledo Mud Hens, a great nickname, by the way, the Mud Hens. That's the AAA affiliate of the Detroit Tigers. They had a third baseman named Ronnie Rodriguez, and all he did in the month of May was hit .383 with 24 RBIs. And he was actually promoted to Detroit. He got the call to the majors on May 31st. And in his major league debut, he got a double and a triple. He hit safely in 25 out of the 28 games in the month of May and had a hitting streak of 18. Again, that's Ronnie Rodriguez, the third baseman now of the Detroit Tigers, formerly of the AAA Toledo Mud Hens. The second player also got called up to the big leagues actually today. Albuquerque Isotopes outfielder Mike Tauchman led the Pacific Coast League in hits with 44, runs with 31, and total bases with 81. He finished the month with a .379 average and 19 extra base hits, 24 RBIs, and like I mentioned, he also got the call to the big leagues. He's now with the Colorado Rockies. Back with the big club. He had a brief stint earlier, I believe in April, with the Rockies. Now he's back up with the Rockies after a terrific month of May with the Albuquerque Isotopes. Our next player is a name who has maybe been the minor league player of the year so far. All he's done is hit. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., the son of Vladimir Guerrero, plays for the New Hampshire Fisher Cats, the AA affiliate of the Toronto Blue Jays. So you thought hitting like .383 or .379 like the previous two guys was good? How about .438? That's right, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit .438 in the month of May, 49 total hits, 86 total bases, 19 extra base hits, 29 runs scored, 28 RBIs, and a .768 slugging percentage. And he also had 9 home runs in the month of May. Why he has not been called up to AAA is beyond me, to be honest, although the Blue Jays say they've had discussions about it, and I would assume sometime within the coming days or weeks, you'll hear Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in AAA, if not the majors.
What is there to discuss? Oh, I think this guy's still needs some more work at the AA level.
Seems like he solved AA pitching, that's for sure. .438, yeah, I don't know what there is to discuss. Who to send down, probably.
Yeah, I guess.
Which guy do they send down? That's got to be the only holdup. You don't hit .438 in an entire month, and he hit pretty well in August, too. April. We're not even to it. Don't worry, we're not in August yet, or April, May. We're in June. The next player is another highly touted prospect who plays in the Chicago White Sox organization, Eloy Jimenez, who was acquired by the White Sox in a trade that sent Jose Quintana to the Cubs at last year's trade deadline. Eloy Jimenez is playing for Birmingham Barons. The right fielder, Eloy Jimenez, led the Southern League in hits with 40 and total bases with 71. He had 11 doubles, and he finished second in average with 374. Well, kind of hard to beat 438, but you know. See, well, tell me how many home runs. Tied for third in home runs with 6. See, it's 6 home runs in the month of May. Eloy Jimenez, again, another name you're going to want to keep an eye on, especially White Sox fans. He's currently playing for the Birmingham Barons. The next player is another son of a former major leaguer, Fernando Tatis Jr. Hit .336 in the month of May and led the Texas League in doubles with 12, runs with 30, extra base hits with 21, and total bases with 78. Fernando Tatis Jr., again, the son of former major leaguer Fernando Tatis. He is playing for the AA San Antonio Missions, the AA affiliate of the San Diego Padres. And another Colorado Rocky joins the list, Lancaster Jethawks. That's the single-A affiliate of the Colorado Rockies. First baseman Roberto Ramos hit .345 in the month of May, leading the California League with home runs with 9, RBIs 23, extra base hits 17, total bases 64, and slugging percentage 762. Lots of stats I'm throwing at you guys early in this one. But these guys were the statistical leaders in the month of May, at least for their respective levels. Again, that was Roberto Ramos, a first baseman for the Lancaster Jethawks, single-A affiliate of the Colorado Rockies. Our last player that I will highlight is a Carolina Mudcats second baseman, Keeson Hiuria. That's the single-A affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers. He led the Carolina League with hits with 46, runs with 29, extra base hits with 21, total bases 81, doubles 13, slugging percentage 664. Wait, we're not done yet. OPS with 1.101. That's all the categories that he led the league in the month of May.
Wow.
Pretty terrific month of May for all of these hitters. Were there any pitchers? There weren't any pitchers on our list. They were all hitters tonight, all hitters in the prospect roundup for the month of May. Again, this has been the prospect roundup presented by Fire Fan. Download the Fire Fan app today. That will conclude the minor league prospect roundup, but we're not done talking about prep baseball players or minor leaguers. We still have the MLB draft to cover. Van has the complete rundown with that.
Yes, I do, and you will help me along the way as well. But we are going to start at the top of the draft. With the number 1 overall pick, the Detroit Tigers had the worst record last year in Major League Baseball. So they got the first overall selection. And with that selection, they took Auburn ace Casey Mize. Owen, what are your thoughts on Casey Mize? I know you got to watch him on TV pitch over the weekend in their regional.
Yes, a terrific pitcher for the Auburn Tigers. Definitely deserving of going number 1 overall. I think he's going to be an ace. The Tigers now have quite the young stash of pitching in the minor leagues. They took Alex Faedo, a right-handed pitcher from the University of Florida last year. Now they add Casey Mize to that group. Tigers pitching will be very good in a few years.
And what do you think about adding Casey Mize to a farm system that already has guys like Matt Manning, Alex Faedo, some top pitchers? Why wouldn't you target a position player if you were the Tigers?
Well, because you have the number 1 overall pick, you want to draft the best player available. Casey Mize, I think, was a no-brainer to go number 1
regardless of position?
Yes, you got to take the best player available. And you need pitching depth. You need lots of pitchers, right? Because the chance, right, they have 5 or 6 guys in their farm system that, you could tab as a future ace or number 2 starter. Maybe some of those guys don't pan out. You want depth, and you're not going to have all of them forever. You need organizational depth. And yes, I mean, maybe Tigers fans want hitters. They want an impact bat. But we'll say it now, and I'll probably say it again. It won't be the last time you hear me saying this. You're going to win games by pitching and defense. You need to have good starting pitching if you want to win ball games at the major league level. So drafting Casey Mize was the surest bet in this situation.
Yes, the San Francisco Giants then had the second pick, and they took catcher Joey Bart out of the University of Georgia Tech. Bart, I would say, clearly the best catcher in the draft class. Really high baseball IQ and outstanding defender, and to go along with that, he hit .359.
As we have a caller on the line. Hello, you are live on Extra Innings National Sports Radio. Do you have a question or a comment for us?
Yes, I do. This is Poppy from Lakewood, Colorado. Before you get too deep into the pitching, and I agree with you 100%, pitching is where it starts. Can you take a minute or two and tell me what you think of this deal of starting the closer in the first inning? I'll hang up and hear what you have to say about it. Nice show, though.
This is a great question. Thank you so much for calling in. For those of you that don't follow the Tampa Bay Rays, they began a theory this year where they don't start with a starting pitcher, they start with a relief pitcher. Most cases it's been Sergio Romo for the Rays. He actually started 2 straight days, one weekend series a couple weeks ago. And then they call it a bullpen game, and they have their bullpen pitchers, pitch the rest. Maybe Sergio Romo pitches 2 innings, and they'll have another bullpen guy for the next inning, and so on and so forth. And it's a very interesting theory. I guess it's worked for the Rays so far. Because their idea is in the first inning, you have your 1, 2, 3 hitters, your best hitters up, and they're likely to do the most damage in the first couple of innings. So why not put your best pitchers right there? Some people call it the opener instead of the closer. And it's interesting. I think it's not something they should make a habit of and do this all the time, every single game. But maybe it would work really well if you're playing a divisional opponent in September and they've seen the starter 3 or 4 times already this year. Or maybe, you need to give your starters an extra day off or something. It'd be a great idea. And I think this is something you're going to see a lot more teams do in the future.
I have started to think about this idea a lot more, and I love this idea. I think it's one of the best ideas baseball minds have ever thought of in the history of all of baseball, next to the designated hitter. Just kidding, I don't really know about the designated hitter, but I know it's good that pitchers don't have to hit.
I don't know, some are pretty good. Look at Bartolo Colon.
Okay.
He hits home runs at Petco.
Back to the bullpen game. I think you could really expand this idea and really turn it into something that we see on an everyday basis. No more starting pitchers, no more bullpen pitchers. Just throw your best guy out there 2 innings every single day. Imagine seeing Max Scherzer pitch 2 innings a day for 162 games.
That would be crazy. I'm doing some calculation. Just a simple 162 times 2. Which, for you math geniuses out there, is 324. So you would pitch 324 innings a year?
Yes.
Because you pitch only 2 innings a day? Yes. Now, what happens, you say you have Max Scherzer go, it's opening day, the adrenaline's pumping, he's excited to start the year. He goes out there in the first inning and is a little bit shaky, maybe walks a couple batters, throws 20 pitches in the first inning, and the second inning maybe throws 20 more, so he's at 40 pitches. Does he come back the next day? Pitch 2 more innings, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, and what if he struggles that day, too? What if he gets hit hard? What if he doesn't make it out of the first inning the next day?
You have 13 pitchers. If you're going to pitch 2 innings, that means that you're going to get a day off every now and again. Maybe instead of only pitching once every 5 days, you pitch 2 innings 4 out of every 5 days.
This actually, I'm starting to come around on this idea, man. This might be a great idea. Think about, The Rockies, and those of you Rockies fans know this, they've struggled in the first inning, the starters have, and after that they've done great in the second inning and beyond. So this is something that Rockies fans and beat writers have talked about, possibly making Adam Ottavino or whoever. I just threw out Adam Ottavino because he's been our best reliever this year. Having him pitch the first inning and then bringing in your starter for the second, this might be a genius idea.
Yes. And the only reason I bring up Max Scherzer is last year in the All-Star game, in his one inning of work, he was absolutely outstanding. I don't know if there's a hitter on this planet that could hurt him. Imagine that.
Every single day.
Yeah, the mentality that he has, knowing he was only going to pitch one inning, is completely different than trying to. I don't know if save himself is the right word, but just prepare himself for a 9-inning complete game or
to go deep into a ball.
Yeah, to throw 100 pitches a night.
Yes, I'm sure you watched the All-Star game if you're a baseball fan, but go back and watch that one inning from Max Scherzer, one of the most dominant innings, I think, and that was in an All-Star game, that was an exhibition game, last year the games and this year too. The game didn't count for anything, and he's out there throwing it as hard as he can. No hitter could have hit that. Now imagine that every single day. He'd be untouchable. Max Scherzer is a little crazy too.
All pitchers
are crazy, but he's
especially crazy.
Can we talk about his pinch hit the other day? In like the 14th inning, the Nationals were winning, no, it was tied. It was tied, and they didn't have any more hitters left. They had Max Scherzer pinch hit. He got a pinch hit single, and then scored the game-winning run on a double from first base. That's how, and I'll keep using the word crazy, Max Scherzer is. How competitive he is to win baseball games. And if you tell him he only has to pitch one inning every day, he might strike out every single batter he faces. And I'm not exaggerating. That's how good he would be if he knew going into the game he only had to pitch the first inning, one inning, throw it as hard as he can. It would be scary. And so would a lot of other pitchers that you would not want to face if you're a hitter.
The hitters would be scared.
The hitters would be scared, and they might never score a run again. Of course, then that might lead to more extra inning games, which would mean you'd end up using more pitchers anyways. Then what do you do in the 14th when you already used every single pitcher?
I think that would put an emphasis on your pitching depth. I think we would.
So you'd have to reconstruct rosters. Yeah. With the roster size 25 man, you would probably have to increase that, right?
No.
Well,
I think.
Then you'd have to give up a position.
You'd have to take the Colorado Rockies approach and have 13 pitchers on your roster instead of. I know a lot of teams use 12, but if you had 13 pitchers on your roster, that's enough for maybe you let a guy like Max Scherzer or your normal starters pitch 2 innings, and then
your normal quote unquote bullpen pitchers pitch 1 inning.
Yeah, pitch the rest of the game.
So maybe if you're the Nationals, Max Scherzer pitches 2 innings, then Steven Strasburg gives you 2, then Gio Gonzalez gives you 2 more, then all of a sudden you're through the 6th inning, then you have a reliever pitch the 7th, 8th, and 9th?
Yes. That definitely, I think,
would work, and then you'd have still 2 more quote-unquote starters that you didn't use in that game. You'd use them tomorrow, and maybe whichever one of the 3 that you threw the other day, who threw the least amount of pitches, bring him back the next day too.
Yeah, and if we're being honest, it should be, even the relievers that only pitch 1 inning should be able to go back-to-back days anyways.
Yes, that's true.
Get a better off-season conditioning program if you're worried about not being able to pitch every day. But, yeah. That is my 2 cents on the bullpen game.
That was more than 2 cents. That might have been 3 or 4 cents.
All right.
That's a great question. Thank you so much for calling in. It's an interesting theory that might become more popular in the game.
Just a I just want to say this. Another note here. At a high school baseball practice when I was a freshman, outfielders, after we took some fly balls, the outfield coach was talking to us about pitching of some sort. And he was saying that basically you're only guaranteed the one inning, so you have to basically pitch as hard as you can, I guess, for that one inning. Like, no one's going to just hand you the second inning or the third inning. Your goal isn't really to pitch a complete game every time out. Your goal is to be the most efficient for one pitch at a time, one batter at a time, one inning at a time. I think that sort of gets lost sometimes when you see all these starting pitchers go into the 7th, 8th, 9th innings of a lot of games. Just thought I'd mention that there.
Thank you.
It kind of fits with the topic.
It does.
But we're going to get back to the Major League Baseball draft here. A lot more news to get to. For the first time in a very long time, the first time in this century, we saw the first 5 picks of the MLB draft. All were selections made by players that were in college baseball, not from high school baseball. The first high school baseball player selected was Jared Kelenic out of a high school in Wisconsin. So the first 5 picks, we've already talked about the first 2, but pick number 3 was Alec Bohm, Bohm, out of Wichita State, the third baseman. The 4th pick was Nick Madrigal out of Oregon State, and the 5th pick was Jonathan India out of the University of Florida. All were outstanding this year for their respective teams. And Casey Mize and Jonathan India will actually be playing each other this week in a super regional matchup.
That's a game to watch. If you are interested in college baseball, or maybe you have nothing else to watch, on Friday at noon Eastern, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, 9 a.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock Central, and you're like, flipping through the channels, what can I watch? Florida-Auburn, Game 1 is about to be maybe the best pitcher's duel. You have 2 first-round picks going, including the number 1 overall pick, Casey Mize for Auburn, against the, number 17? No, later than that, wasn't it? 18. Number 18 overall pick, Brady Singer for the Florida Gators. It'll be Singer versus Mize in Game 1 of the Super Regionals. Florida, the number 1 overall team into the tournament. Also the defending national champions, Brady Singer, will start Game 1 for the Gators in all likelihood. Casey Mize for Auburn. Again, I guess that's not official yet. Of course, the 2 schools haven't announced it yet, but I can't imagine why you wouldn't have your 2 first-round picks start against each other in Game 1. An interesting matchup, and Jonathan India, another first-round pick, a top 5 overall pick, will hit against Casey Mize, so that will be a good series to watch. I'll let Van get back to the draft coverage. Maybe we'll talk a little college baseball a little bit later.
Yes, some more draft coverage here. I wanted to touch on a left-handed high school pitcher, Matthew Liberatore, out of Mountain Ridge High School in Arizona. A pitcher who I think has the potential to be one of the top in the draft. I think alongside Brady Singer, Liberatore was kind of undervalued, I guess. I projected both of them as top 10 picks. But this year's draft did not feature that many pitchers taken in the top 10 of the draft. I am counting now. There were just 3 in the top 10 of the draft. The rest were position players. A very position-heavy draft. A very outfield-heavy draft. One of those outfielders was Kyler Murray, the Oklahoma quarterback. Yes, the Oklahoma quarterback.
2 Oklahoma quarterbacks were taken in the top 10 of a draft this year.
Yes, that
Think
is
about
true.
that.
Kyler Murray is set to replace Baker Mayfield next year at Oklahoma, the former Heisman Trophy winning Baker Mayfield. But Kyler Murray also hit cleanup for the Oklahoma baseball team this year, hit .296, and had a .398 OBP.
If he didn't play football, he might have been a top 5 pick. This is interesting. Will the Oakland A's be able to sign him?
Yes, I think
He said, though, he's going to play football this upcoming fall. And I think that'll be his last year of eligibility. Am I wrong on
I
that?
think you're right.
It might not be, but I think he may have said that it'll be his last fall playing football.
So does that mean he pursues baseball next summer?
I believe that's the plan. And, of course, I'm not Kyler Murray. I'm not his agent. I'm not, never met the guy. But I think that's what he said his plan is, at least going forward. Because he's supposed to be the Oklahoma starting quarterback next fall, if things go as planned and assuming he doesn't get injured, which, again, would be terrible for the A's.
Yes, a lot of risk, especially on a top 10 pick.
Yes.
It may be a year, if not a year and a half, until we see him in a baseball uniform.
Yes, that's very true.
And the other first-round pick I wanted to talk about was Cole Winn from Orange Lutheran High School. The only reason I know about him is he played his high school baseball for his freshman, sophomore, and junior year at Silver Creek High School in my home state of Colorado. Although I did not ever get to see him pitch, I have watched his highlight tape, and he looks pretty good. But my question is, why did he transfer to Orange Lutheran High School?
Because Orange Lutheran's a lot better at baseball than Silver Creek. It's also in California, too.
Yeah. But he was taken 15th overall by the Texas Rangers out of Orange Lutheran High School, it will officially say.
Can we talk about the catcher the Yankees took? Was it the Yankees?
Yes.
Anthony Siegler. A switch-hitting, switch-throwing catcher. He'll play catcher. He also pitched for his high school team. And he was ambidextrous. He was able to throw with both arms.
That's great, but as a catcher, why do you really need to throw with
Well, no. He did that as a pitcher.
Oh.
And he also switch-hit, too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Quite the
So then,
ambidextrous little fella.
So then why did they take him as a catcher?
Maybe he's better at catching. Maybe he doesn't throw that hard as a pitcher.
With one hand, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe he throws about, I'm just making this up, maybe he throws about 85 with each arm, and maybe behind the plate, when he can just throw with his right arm. I'm guessing he throws with his right arm. You don't see too many left-handed catchers, if any, these days. So I doubt he'll be throwing people out from behind the plate with his left arm. He'll just use that to catch the ball with his glove, like most other catchers do. Anything else?
This is the part of the draft discussion where we get into all the former brothers and cousins and sons that were drafted. We are going to start with Roger Clemens' son was taken on day 2 of the amateur draft this year. And if this storyline sounds familiar, it's because we talked about this last year as well. Roger Clemens has 4 sons. The third of 4 sons was taken last year, Casey Clemens. And the youngest of the 4 was taken this year, Cody Clemens. Played college baseball at the University of Texas, is a semi-finalist for the Golden Spikes Award, basically the most outstanding college baseball player. He was taken in the 35th round by the Houston Astros, so he will stay in the state of Texas.
Cody Clemens, by the way, almost single-handedly won the regional this weekend for Texas. In a game against Texas A&M, he hit 2 home runs and had 7 RBIs against the rival Texas A&M Aggies. Now Van counts on his fingers 7. I'm glad you can do that.
Very impressive weekend for Cody Clemens. The other college standout I wanted to mention was Seth Beer out of Clemson University. He was the freshman of the year?
Yes.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
2 years ago. He has played first base, and he could even be a potential DH for the Astros. A lot better hitter than he is a fielder, but if I remember correctly, he played right field when he was a freshman.
I think that's correct. Really anywhere to get his bat in the lineup.
Yes.
Reminds me a little bit of A.J. Reed, a first baseman from Kentucky, who also ended up in the Astros organization. I think he's in AAA now. And the fact that they can both hit really well and there's not really a position for them right now, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does make sense. But if Seth Beer can tighten up his defense, the question has never been will he hit or if he'll hit. He's hit at every level he's played at. So if the Astros can find a defensive position for him, I think Seth Beer will be a steal of the first round. That will conclude our draft coverage, actually. So we have to move on to lots of other stuff to talk about still. Just the standings update, I guess. But we will get to that now. We are going to start in the American League. Let's start out east, where the Red Sox are still in control. They have a game lead over the New York Yankees. And when we last talked to you, like I mentioned a long time ago, the Blue Jays were still hanging around. Not so much anymore. They have only won 3 games out of their last 10 opportunities, and they find themselves in 4th place. The Tampa Bay Rays have jumped up in the standings and are now in 3rd place. And the Baltimore Orioles, it's just not the Orioles' year, I can tell you that much. Not even to 20 wins yet on the year. They are one of just 2 teams still looking for their 20th win. In the American League Central, I'm surprised some of these teams have 20 wins, but I guess they kind of get a beat up on each other. Maybe the worst division in baseball so far to this point. The Cleveland Indians have a 31-28 record and sit in first place with a 3-game lead over the second place Detroit Tigers, who are below 500 with a 29-33 record. Then you have the Twins, the Royals, and the White Sox. The White Sox are the other team still looking for their 20th win, but the Twins, not out of it, the wild card team from last year, sit 4 games out of the division. And the Royals and White Sox, both double digits, looking up at the rest of the division. Now, in the very interesting American League West, the Seattle Mariners have taken over first place recently. They've won 8 out of their last 10. They've won 5 in a row. They have a record of 38-22. They have played outstanding this year, thanks to guys like James Paxton and Edwin Diaz in the bullpen. They got a win today over the Houston Astros. They won that game 7-1. The Angels and Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout sit just 5.5 games back and are in third place of the American League West. And then the Oakland Athletics, 1 game above 500, sit in fourth place of the division. The Athletics would actually be in second of the American League Central, ironically enough, but they are not central enough. And they play
Oakland is not in the central of the United States.
Yes, not even close, actually. But they are in fourth of the very competitive American League West, and very interesting, like I mentioned. The Texas Rangers are in the cellar, 13.5 games out.
Now to the National League, starting in the National League West, where the Arizona Diamondbacks are a half a game up on the Colorado Rockies. The Diamondbacks sit at 31-28. The Rockies have the same number of wins, but one more loss. They have 29 losses. And the Los Angeles Dodgers, who just swept the Colorado Rockies, sit at 500. They are 30-31.5 games out. They're tied with their intrastate rival, the San Francisco Giants, both sitting at exactly 500. 1.5 games back of the Diamondbacks. And the San Diego Padres actually are only 4.5 games back, but they sit at 28-34. In the National League Central.
Take note, the Padres have won 7 out of their last 10. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Thank you. I see that. Thank you, Ben. The National League Central, the Milwaukee Brewers hold a 2-game lead on the Chicago Cubs. The Brewers are at 37-24. Cubs 33-24. The Brewers are 3.5 games up on the St. Louis Cardinals, who currently occupy third in the Central. The Pittsburgh Pirates sit at 500, maybe surprising to some people. They're only 6.5 out. And then the Reds are, not doing too hot. They are 21-40, and they are 16 games back. To the National League East, it's still the young Atlanta Braves that are in first place, but only slightly. They're only a half a game up on the Washington Nationals. Braves are 10 games above 500. They're 35-25. Nationals sit at 34-24. And the Philadelphia Phillies are in third place. They are 32-26, 2 games out of first place. Still in the thick of things there in the East. Then the New York Mets, after that hot start they got off to, have gone completely downhill. Now below 500 at 27-31 and 7 games out of first place. And the Miami Marlins, as many expected, with 21 wins, are 14 games out of first place. A quick check on the wild card. The Cubs would occupy the first wild card if the season ended today, and they would play the Washington Nationals if the season ended today. They're the second wild card, followed closely behind by the Philadelphia Phillies, who are 1.5 games out, and St. Louis Cardinals, also 1.5 games out. The Rockies are 3.5 games out. The Dodgers, Pirates, and Giants all sit at 4.5 games out of first. And a quick check on the American League wild card. The New York Yankees are 4.5 games above the Astros for the wild card. Actually, the Astros will be the second wild card spot. And they are 3.5 games up on the division rival Angels and 5.5 up on the Oakland A's. That will do it for the standings update tonight. And I believe the show, unless Van has any last-minute news to pass along.
Clayton Kershaw remains on the DL.
He came off the DL for one start.
Yes, unfortunate news for the Dodgers.
He goes back on the DL. Although they didn't do too bad without him.
They didn't do too well with him either.
But they're starting to turn it around, though.
Yeah. They're playing a lot better.
They're playing a lot better baseball as of late. Maybe they will take control in the NL West, a division that nobody seems to want to take control of yet. I don't think any team, though, has played their best baseball. The Rockies, Diamondbacks, Dodgers. The Giants just got Madison Bumgarner back. They might still be playing if they're on the...
Yeah, they started at
West
8
Coast.
o'clock tonight. Yeah.
So Madison Bumgarner...
It is currently 2-1 in Madison Bumgarner's return. The Diamondbacks are leading. Diamondbacks have scored 2 runs. The Giants have scored 1 run. That game is currently in the bottom of the 5th inning. So, that will conclude our Extra Innings episode for the night and for the week. We will talk to you again next week, same time, same place. You have been listening to Extra Innings on National Sports Radio.